Hello and welcome to the last video of 2021, where I will be making use of a couple of little presents I recently got. But before we do that, time to start with a sketch. So the topic of what I'm thinking about drawing today has a lot to do with the fact that it's about to be the start of a new year, 2022. And a lot of people are thinking about New Year's resolutions, myself included, though I've never been one to set a New Year's resolution because I'm not the kind of person to stick with one. So I like to set what I call New Year's mantras. And basically that sounds like I'm going to try to do whatever this year. And I pick a few things that I'd like to try to incorporate into my daily routine or just new ways of doing things. And by setting that bar a little lower for myself with I'm going to try to do and make it a thing where I'm just trying to be more mindful of doing this new behavior, I find it's less of a hard fall, if that makes sense, if I don't do it. For example, last year's mantra was, I'm going to try to make better food choices. And so basically it saw me being mindful, and I walked into the grocery store of exactly what I was buying and bringing into the house, because you can't eat junk food that isn't there. That being said, by setting myself up in the way of saying, I'm going to try to do X, it wasn't me saying, I'm going to do X, therefore I didn't feel bad when I caved and bought a treat bag of chips for myself. I was more proud of the fact that I was buying fewer bags of chips than I was feeling guilty of the fact that I had bought a bag of chips. So in my case, the power of positive thinking really helps me stick to whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish. And that brings me to what I'm drawing. I think what I want to do is kind of symbolize the fact that it's not about how many times you fall off the bandwagon, but rather how many times you get back on. And even if you feel like your journey is going to be a very long one, I mean, if you feel like you're nothing but a floppy fish and you'll never achieve greatness, well, let me tell you, you can achieve greatness and you can become the dragon you are inside. You just gotta stick with it. And I mean, 400 candies can be hard to get to, but with time and patience and positive thinking, you never know what you could achieve. What we have here in today's painting is gonna be Magikarp dreaming of becoming a Gyarados. There's a lot of days where I just feel like a Magikarp and I wish I could get through the awkward splashing phase, and it's hard, but I just gotta be mindful that one day, after enough splashing, maybe I will be able to use Dragon Rage. If I just believe. With that being my official last cheesy motivational talk for the year, I think we are going to get ready to open up those canvases and get to painting. I'm using a chalk pastel pencil to draw on the black canvas since it itself is white. After laying out a roadmap for myself to keep myself on track, I start laying in some paint layers. I thought of like a million different ways for which I could go about doing this piece, but what I settled on was grayscale for Gyarados in the background. It's almost kind of like he's being imagined, or he's not really there, or he is there, but I wanted him to be part of the background, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So in order to do that, I'll just use grayscale for him, and then I will save my color for our little guy down front. I'm almost kind of treating this like two paintings in one. While I'm letting my grayscale Gyarados dry, I move down here to work on little Magikarp, who's going to be in color. Hopefully this will make him pop as the focal point. Working on a black canvas is definitely different. I'm going to need a few more layers to make some of the colors a little more opaque than if I were working on a white background. But that's okay. Layers on a painting are important, just like in your onions and in your ogres. Back up to Gyarados again while Magikarp dries up a bit. Just going to work him a little bit more, create a little more contrast, but I don't want to go too over the top. Again, this guy is background. So, though I do like to work wet on wet right on the canvas and blend my colors there, I do need to stop after a point. You can only work it so much, and then I let it dry, and then I go back to it and add another layer, the same, working wet on wet, and stop and let it dry, and the process repeats itself for a while, at least, until I'm feeling happy with where I am. Now normally before I would go adding this much detail to Magikarp, I would address the blank space at the bottom of the canvas, because when I do go to paint it, I'm inevitably going to mess up some of the Magikarp. So therefore, by putting in more detail now, I'm creating myself more work later. But the problem was I wasn't sure what I was going to do to the bottom. So in order to keep forward momentum and motivation going, I decided to just keep playing with the Magikarp until an idea came to me. Sometimes I just have to sacrifice a little extra touching up later in order to keep the ideas flowing and the motivation going. And here is where I figured out that I was going to use different shades of lighter and darker blues in order to create a sense of depth. Few little finishing touches here. Finishing touches. Fin. Anyway, almost done. As 2022 looms on the horizon for all of us, depending where you are in the world, some sooner, some later. Nonetheless, I hope when it arrives for you that it brings only great things. I'm hoping the new year for this channel means a more regular upload schedule, maybe some longer and more in-depth videos, but most of all, fun with art. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and stick around.